RJ Davis just wrapped one of the best individual seasons in the entirety of North Carolina basketball history.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, it's Tuesday, July 30th, 2024. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Shade, and you're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks so much for making us your first listen or watch, and a special shout out to all you everydayers and all the members of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord. Super glad you're all here. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. In the dog days of summer, the sport stops sportsing like we want them to, but this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone, every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. So we started this countdown yesterday on the show. We've come to the last 3 days of July, and that means for the second year in a row, we're doing a top 10 countdown of my list of the 10 most impactful things in Carolina athletics the past year. And so we're just doing that. Yesterday we went 10 to 7. Today we're going 6 to 4, and tomorrow we'll wrap it up with number 3 through 1. And it's crazy because in August, we will have football. There will be a football game in August. So we are literally days away from the month of a new athletic season starting. So this is why it makes sense to do this right now. Now, again, as a reminder, these are totally my opinions. I didn't have a vote on it. I didn't talk to other people. This is just from my own noggin. So I would love to hear from you. What things would you add to this list or take away from it? Where do you agree? All of that kind of stuff. So today it's interesting the way my list kind of came together, number 6 through 4. It's just several individuals who have either finished up careers or done great stuff in their career. I don't want to give it away yet, but you can probably guess who it might be. And so we'll get to that. Now, I know it's Tuesday, and usually we have Trivia Tuesday. We're not going to today because we want to make sure to get to all of the information about these guys. So I just gave something away there. It's all 3 dudes. So number 6 on our list. Let me also remind you quickly, in case you missed yesterday's, you should go back and watch it or listen to it. Number 10, we talked about Carolina's sweep of Duke last year. Number 9, we looked at Carolina football having a little deja vu with a great start to the season, and then a sleepy end to it. Number 8, we talked about Parker Wolf's national championship in the 5K, outdoors 5K. And then number 4, Aranza's back-to-back national championships in 2 different diving events, the 1 and 3 meter. And that brings us to number 6 today, and that is RJ Davis's historic season in 2023-24. And let's just remember where this whole thing started off. Carolina is coming off a year where they had been preseason number 1, coming off of losing in the national championship game. And the pieces had all been there. And then last year, I guess what's now 2 seasons ago, 2022-23, the Tar Heels just really never figured out how to put all the pieces together. And it felt like the partnership of Caleb Love and RJ Davis just never meshed the way it did in the run to the national championship. And then this previous season, 2023-24, it's much more clearly defined. You've got Elliot, Cadeau as clearly the point guard, RJ Davis as clearly the shooting guard when they're both in the game. And I think a lot of people nationally and even within our conference didn't see that or didn't recognize it ahead of time. And so not only was RJ not named or voted in part of the preseason ACC Player of the Year votes, he didn't even make one of the preseason All ACC teams. Now, you'll probably remember I railed on that at the time. And then when he started going off early in the season, I think I wrote his name into the ballot and posted on Twitter and asked everyone if they wanted to revote, because I'm real salty like that sometimes. Usually, I'm just real congenial, easygoing, but you start messing with our guys, I ain't got time for that. So RJ Davis then goes on to have this absurd college basketball season. Let me just run you back through it and remind you of some of the amazing things that happened. He was the ACC Player of the Year. This dude is going to get his jersey in the rafters. Not retired jersey. That's another level of things you got to do, but an honor jersey. And so number 4 is going to be up there. He was a consensus first team All-American last year. Many people said, yours truly included, were it not for Zach Edey, RJ Davis arguably would have won National Player of the Year. It would have either been he or Dalton Knecht. So on that consensus first team All-American with RJ were both Zach Edey and Dalton Knecht. And then also you add into that UConn's Tristan Newton and Jamal Shead from Houston. And so, unbelievable stuff. RJ won the Jerry West Award. You might not even remember that, but now there is one award for each of the 5 positions on a court. The shooting guard award is the Jerry West Award. It's only been around since 2014-15, right? Like the point guard award is the Bob Cousy Award, example of that. So RJ wins that award for the nation's top shooting guard. First ever Tar Heel to do it. And again, I know it's only been like a decade that award's been around, but still big time to be the first Tar Heel to etch his name in that list. Amongst some of the other accolades, I had the distinct joy of being in the building in the Smith Center the night that RJ set a Smith Center record for points against Miami. And you probably remember that game because it felt like the roof was going to come off the place. Carolina had this massive lead and then just kind of let Miami chip and chunk away at it. And it was like, let's not screw this up, fellas. We got to win this basketball game. You got a great season going. And it felt like one of the few times last season, if we're being honest, where because of how well RJ was doing, the rest of the team stood around and watched a little bit, gawking as the rest of us were. And so I understand that. But unreal performance there from RJ. Season long, most threes in a single season in program history. He hit 113 of them, becoming just the second Tar Heel ever to reach triple digits in three-pointers in a single season. The other, Justin Jackson, in the 2017 national championship season when he was the ACC Player of the Year. We've had a couple others come really, really, really close, but no others. Just Justin and RJ have done it. I'd love to see if RJ can do that again this year and do it twice. He is currently second on Carolina's career made three-pointers list. He's got 274. Number 1 on that list. I know we're not doing Trivia Tuesday, but maybe you can pull this one. I'll give you a second. It's Joel Berry, 299. So no Tar Heel has ever made 300 career three-pointers. Obviously, RJ with that 5th year is going to get that this year. He just needs 26 to reach that milestone, to both break Joel's record and to be the first Tar Heel to 300. So crazy stuff there. Set a just shy of 40% from 339.8. That was a career high. Career high in points per game, 21.1 points. He scored in total 784 points. Do you realize that's the 4th most points any Tar Heel has scored in a single season ever? And the 3 guys above him all broke 800. RJ came 16 points shy of being the 4th ever Tar Heel to get 800 points in one season. That's just ridiculous when you think about this. He's got 2,088 career points. That moves him to 5th all-time scoring list. He had, again, that 784 points. I talked about this back as the season wrap, but maybe you missed it or forgot it. Here's what's crazy. RJ's 5th, number 1 on the list, obviously, is Tyler Hansborough, who has 2,872. RJ scored 784 points last year. If he did that exact same thing again, he would tie Tyler Hansborough for first place. Math is crazy like that. I love it. I mean, I know it's just purely coincidence, but how hilarious that the numbers work that way. His free throw numbers were just ever so slightly down from his junior year. He was 87.3 this year, down from 88.1, so less than a percentage point down. But still, he is number 1 in career free throw percentage at Carolina, 85.8%. And you all know it just as well as I do. This man is coming back for one more go-round. Like, I'm just saying it like I do all the time, with like we did last year with Armando or the year before with Leaky. It is guaranteed now that this is RJ's last year. He has no more eligibility left. Soak in every moment of this year with RJ Davis. Appreciate every shot, every leadership moment, every pat. Just soak it in. That's all I'm saying. Well, from one of the best on the hardwood to one of the best to ever do it on the diamond for the Diamond Heels, Vance Honeycutt just wrapped up a fantastic Carolina baseball career. And we'll talk about that in just a second, right after I tell you about FanDuel. Look, I love sports. I love them, and I never want them to stop. But in the dog days of summer, they kind of do. We get fewer games. The sports just aren't sportsing like we want them to. But FanDuel lets you keep the sports going whenever you want. All you got to do is open up the app and dream up bets anytime you're in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. And, typically in the summer at this point, all we got is baseball. But right now, one of my favorite things in the world is going on, the Olympics. Who out there is an Olympics person? I can't get enough of it. I try to watch every second that I can. So right now we're in the first week of the Olympics, and there's odds on like all the medal counts, for example. I love this. Most gold medals, US minus 550. China is second in that number at plus 350. And then there's a massive gap to Great Britain in third best odds at plus 4,200. That's right. Minus 550 to plus 350 to plus 4,200. Or how about most total medals? US is favored minus 2,000. Second is China at plus 1,500. And then an even bigger gap to Great Britain and Japan tied in third at plus 6,000. Or you could do over-unders on like most gold medals won, or on number of gold medals won, or number total medals won. For example, USA's over-under on total medals is 119.5. Super fun action to get in on, right? Go check it out on FanDuel.com and make the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Thanks for joining us here on Locked On Tar Heels, your team every day. Got a whole network of great shows out there. We're getting close to football season, Locked On College Football. You can check it out. Myself and my co-host Andy Patton are always doing Locked On College Basketball as well. If you're interested in another Locked On show, man, we'd love to have you keep checking other stuff out. All right, let's move to number 5 on our countdown of the top 10 most impactful things that happened in Carolina athletics last year. And number 5 on our list is the man, dip that honey, let's get it going. Vance Honeycutt finishes his magical career playing for North Carolina baseball and Coach Scott Forbes. So, arguably, as we will say about RJ Davis after this next season is over, Vance Honeycutt ends his Tar Heel career as one of the best players in program history. Now, there's others that you could certainly make an argument for that would be above him, but you cannot argue that he's at very least in the conversation because Vance Honeycutt, of his combination of otherworldly defensive capability. I mean, if you watch baseball at all the past 3 years, you've seen this on display almost on a nightly basis. I mean, robbing that home run, was it against Georgia his freshman year in the regionals? Just silly stuff there. Just play after play after play out there to keep Carolina in games, not just with his bat, but with his glove as well. But the combination of that with his speed, which obviously aids him in what he does in center fielder, but aids him running from home to first and all over the base paths. But then you combine that with his power, and it's just like a mix of things that don't come along every day. And so, like, I think about it, many of you who are regulars know that I'm a big Braves fan. And so I think about Ronald Acuna, who last year had the first 40-70 season in Major League Baseball history, going over 40 home runs and over 70 steals. That never happened before, because what a unique, you think about people stealing bases, and usually it's like Ricky Henderson, who's not going to hit a home run to save his life, or homers being these big bulked up dudes that can't steal bases ever. And so to be able to have just this unique blend of both, man, Vance Honeycutt has been something of a unique special baseball player for the Tar Heels, and I'm very grateful for his time. Let's run through some of the accolades. Only player, this is kind of similar in that Ronald Acuna vein we were just talking about, only player among the Power 4 conferences to finish his career. That, we talk Power 4 now because Pac-12 is gone. So it's ACC, SEC, Big Ten, and Big 12, to finish his career with over 60 home runs and over 70 stolen bases. 65 home runs to be precise, and 76 stolen bases to be precise. That's insane. And you probably remember back during the season when he became the first ever ACC player to go over 50 and 70, and then he just kept doing it. So Vance Honeycutt, special blend of stuff. He is the UNC career record holder now for home runs with 65. That's fourth most in not in UNC, in ACC history, fourth most home runs. He finished his career ranked among the school's all-time top 10. Listen to all these different categories. In runs, he's fourth with 205. In total bases, he's fifth with 442. Slugging percentage, sixth at 638. Stolen bases, sixth with 76. Walks, seventh with 126. And RBIs, 10th with 170. That is such an odd blend, and it's so cool that Vance was able to pull it off. And just imagine if he had stuck around for a fourth year, or if he hadn't had the back issues that kept him out of so much of his sophomore year, what those at least the counting numbers could have been. First player, and it's not just the on the field stuff, gang, it's in the classroom as well. First player at UNC to be named first team All-America and first team academic All-America. Way to go, Vance. He's the first two-time ACC Defensive Player of the Year in league history, doing it both 23 and 24. He did that in 2023, where he basically was on the shelf most of the time. And as the back-to-back ACC Defensive Player of the Year, this past year, 2024, 12.07 defensive runs saved for Vance. That was the highest of any outfielder in all of Division I, not just Power 4, every level of Division I. And so it's one thing to the eyeball test to say, oh, look how good Vance is. Look how he gets to these balls. But it's another thing when the numbers and the metrics, even the advanced metrics, back that up and say, hey, look, Vance Honeycutt's a dude. And I would be remiss, as you are at any, like if you're talking about somebody's life, to say, look, we can recognize, yes, he's got to cut down on his strikeouts. He's got to make more contact at the next level. And I believe that he will, right? Like, I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with his swing that won't allow him to do that. But it would be wrong of me not to just say that as we're talking about him. And great stuff in the MLB draft. It's appropriate timing because that was just a couple weeks ago now. Was drafted 22nd overall by the Orioles, who are building a great young core. So would love to see if Vance can break into that. If not, hopefully he can land somewhere that will utilize him well. Hopefully his back is healthy. Obviously, he missed, what was it? One of the games of, was it the ACC tournament? Did he sit out the Wake Forest game? Am I remembering that correctly? But so wasn't fully healthy this year, but nothing like 2023. And so it was just great to have Vance Honeycutt, one of the best baseball players in Carolina history, on the field, wowing us over and over and over again. And I'm not going to talk about his walk-off exploits late in the season because we got another show coming up tomorrow and we might just get there. So RJ Davis, Vance Honeycutt. There's one more individual we got to talk about to wrap up today's show. And this young man may be headed to New England to continue his football career. And yes, I am that corny. Deal with it. We'll get to that in just a second. Right after I tell you about Ibata. Are you taking that dream vacation this summer, but you're dreading the cost? Well, with Ibata, you get back on everything you purchase. So you can spend more time making memories and less time dreaming about them. With Ibata, earn on hundreds of items from groceries to beauty supplies, even toys. So you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. The average Ibata user earns $256 a year. That's average user. That could cover the cost of a whole shopping spree, that flight you've been eyeing, or that fancy dinner, steak rare, sir, that you've been craving. It's time that you join the over 50 million users who choose Ibata to earn cash back every time they shop. Right now, Ibata is offering our listeners $5 just for trying out Ibata by using the code LOCKEDONCollege when you register. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibata app to start earning cash back and use code, don't forget, Locked On College. Again, that's IBOTTA in the Google Play or App Store. And don't forget, use code Locked On College. Get started getting money back right now. We're continuing our countdown of the top 10 most impactful things that happened in Carolina athletics last year. We've gone from 10 all the way down now to 4, and that is Mr. Drake Maye. And, we just talked about Vance Honeycutt's career, and that's what we're doing with Drake Maye. In the same way that Vance has to be considered as one of the greatest Carolina baseball players of all time, even though Drake just had those 2 years as a starter, he's got to be considered, if not the top quarterback in Carolina history, 2, 3. I don't know who all, I know there are Sam Howell, there are other names you would put in there, but I haven't heard any pushback when I've said that Drake Maye is the best quarterback in Carolina history. Is he number one in every record? No, but it's because he only played 2 years as the starter. And here's the thing. I hate that we only got Drake for 2 years. I simply just cannot imagine what his numbers would look like if he came back for even one more year, much less 4. But we had 2 great years, and it was a blast. I know, as we talked about on yesterday's show, the end of both of those years really dropped off. But what a ride. I cannot imagine what the records in those seasons would have looked like with somebody not named Drake Maye under center. So with Drake, let's say this out of the gate. With him, it's not just his play. It's who he is as a person, right? Even if you've never met him, never encountered him in real life, just seeing who he is, just you feel like you belong. You feel like, man, that's just one of my buddies out there, Drake Maye. He's a Carolina guy. He's a team first guy, right? Like, he's putting everyone before him for the good of the team, even sometimes at the unnecessary expense of his own body as he goes Supermaning through the air after he gets drilled. He's a legacy, both not just because of his dad, but also because of his brothers, except one of them, whatever, chomp, chomp, we'll forgive you. It's his aw shucksness, right? Just the down home good old boy. It's putting his body on the line. It's his preparation. It's his frame. It's all of these things that come together to make Drake Maye who Drake Maye is. And who would have thought this time 2 years ago, when we didn't know whether it would be he or Jacoby Criswell taking the first snaps of the 2022 season until game week, that 2 years later, we'd be sitting here talking about the greatest quarterback in Carolina history. It's just kind of blows me away when I stop and think about that. Drake's career numbers: 618 for 952 passing. He's 6th at Carolina in completions. 8,018 passing yards. That's 5th in Carolina history. 63 passing touchdowns. That's 4th at UNC. Y'all, this is in 2 years of playing. 1,209 rushing yards. And keep in mind, I always have to say this, in college, sack yards count against your rushing totals. And with, as all due respect to the offensive line, with as often as Drake found himself on his butt the past 2 years, I can't imagine what those rushing numbers would have been if he was on his feet more often. 16 rushing touchdowns, 9,227 yards of total offense. That too is 5th in Carolina history. In 2 years, Drake Maye did all that. 2-time All ACC player. And I know there was a little bit of a drop off for him statistically this year. But in 2022, let's just remember everything it was. Let me just sum up 2022 by putting him in category with some of the most elite quarterbacks to do it. That year, Drake was the 2nd player in ACC history to sweep all 4 major awards in the conference. He was the ACC Player of the Year. He was the ACC Offensive Player of the Year. He was the ACC Rookie of the Year, and he was the ACC Offensive Rookie of the Year. The other gentleman on that list is some guy named Jameis Winston, who you might have heard of, that had a pretty good freshman year at Florida State. Or how about this? He's the 6th quarterback in the nation, not just ACC, since 2010 to have these numbers in a single season: 4,000 or more passing yards, 35 or more passing touchdowns, 650 or more rushing yards, 7 or more rushing touchdowns. 4,000 pass yards, 35 passing touchdowns, 650 rushing yards, 7 rushing touchdowns. Just the 6th one since 2010 to do that. Would you like to know the names of the other 5? Kyler Murray, Deshaun Watson, Marcus Mariota, Johnny Manziel, and Robert Griffin III, and Drake Maye. That's it. That's the list in the last decade and a half. We just got to witness something very, very, very special, and I hope we all realize and remember that. And then, as we know, it all ended. There was all this debate about where would he go? Number 1, would it be he or Caleb, or would he go 2 or 3? And ultimately fell to 3 in the Patriots. And I know a lot of people are kind of bummed about that because it's like, hopefully the Patriots don't mess him up. Whatever. He's going to New England, drafted 3rd overall in the NFL draft. And I think that helps make up for how far Sam Howell fell in the draft a couple years ago. I'm just still so bummed about that. Like, I get it and I understand it, but I'm just kind of feel like this vindication that Drake went so much higher. Would have loved for him to be number 1 overall, but whatever. So number 3 by the Patriots after his brilliant 2-year career at Carolina. He's the 25th first rounder from North Carolina, the 9th first rounder for the Tar Heels since 2008. That's the 3rd most in the ACC in that span. So to RJ Davis, to Vance Honeycutt, to Drake Maye, thank you to all these gentlemen who are numbers 6, 5, and 4 on this list. To Vance, as you start your career with the Orioles, man, go get it. To Drake, as you get going right now at minicamp stuff for the Patriots, like, get it. Let's hit this. And RJ, we get one more go round. Again, I say, don't miss a second, folks. All right. Tomorrow on the show, we wrap up our countdown, numbers 3 through 1. Going to be a lot of fun there. Number 1 might be unexpected. I'm wondering if anyone's going to guess what my number 1 is going to be. I'm excited to unveil that. And then Thursday, Coach Pat Kilby and I will do the next in our summer roster preview series. Going to be a lot of fun for that. So make sure you're tuned in. It'll be great. All right, gang. If you haven't subscribed to the show, make sure you do that. You can do it on audio. You can do it on video. You can do it on both. It helps spread the reach of the program. If you're not part of our Locked on Tar Heels Discord, we'd absolutely love to have you in there. It's free to join. The link for that is in the show notes on audio and video. Listen, I'm dead serious. Come for the Tar Heels, but stay for the community. It's a great place where we're hanging out. We know things about each other's lives and families. It's just really, really cool and a safe place to be a Tar Heel fan with just good, healthy conversation. So seriously, come on. We'd love to have you. All right, we'll talk again tomorrow, but let me remind you, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. Can't wait to finish off our list. But until then, peace.